Good morning.
Good morning.
How much are they paying you to be here?
Excuse me? What is your name, son?
Gerald.
Well, Gerald, I think you're afraid.
Are you telling us this stuff so we can buy your book? Because I gotta tell you, if you are, that was some of the worst advice I ever heard.
You see how sad this is?
I want your sister to lose weight, tell her to get off the couch, stop eating Twinkies, and maybe go out for field hockey. You know what? No one ever knows what they want to be when they grow up. You know, it takes a little while to find that out, right, Jim? And you. Yeah, you. You're sick of some jerk shoving your head down the toilet. Well, you know what? Maybe you should lift some weights or take a karate lesson, and the next time he tries to do it, you kick him in the balls.
Son, do you see this?
Right?
This is an anger prisoner, a textbook example.
Prisoner.
Do you see the fear, people? This boy is scared to death of the truth. Son, it breaks my heart to say this, but I believe you're a very troubled and confused young man. I believe you are searching for the answers in all the wrong places.
You're right, actually. I am I'm pretty troubled and I'm pretty confused, but I'm afraid, really afraid. Really afraid, but I think you're fucking Antichrist.
The state of fear. Why does a guy freak out and cut up a woman's clothes? Someone might say because he's a fucking asshole, or because he's jealous. And that's not it. The core is he's afraid, and the fear drives him to act like a lunatic. Tech companies, platforms, the media, and the government do the same thing when they're in fear. What does a crooked company do when a competitor begins drumming up real business? They attempt to get that business in trouble. They attempt to take that business out. Maybe sending in OSHA, or maybe causing an E. coli outbreak like what happened to Odwalla when they refused to pasteurize their juice. And by the way, pasteurize is just a semi-sciencey way of saying killed off the good stuff. They might set somebody up in the company, finding dirt on somebody and exploiting it. Or any number of tactics in an effort to get that competitor taken out. In the end, it's not because they were jealous of the competition, they're afraid. Fear. And this temper tantrum is the same behavior. They're in fear. Make no mistake about that. This behavior stems from nothing but fear.
Duh.
Excuse me? No, duh is a product of fear.
But you can see all the holes by looking at the internet in general. For example, where did comment sections come from? From the minds of people who said, yeah, but if people are just going to be able to post their opinions and influence people on the internet, we need some way to steer their influence and influence the viewers. Or we may need to derail the person's message completely. And the comment section was born out of fear. When TV was the media giant, there were no comment sections, no places to show the world your opinions about their programming. They completely dominated it. But when they handed the people the camera and the microphone to train the AI, they needed a way to get the last word in. Fear. When you take their approach, and you take the authoritarian TV approach, the same approach that they have used since 1928, or even earlier with newspapers, and you deny these same people the ability to subvert or influence information, they cry about it. They cry out of fear. They want to be able to close your bank account if you act out of line or fall out of lockstep. They want to be able to force you to take experimental elixirs while screaming, "My body, my choice," about other issues. Scumbags like Sean Penn would literally have you locked up or put in a camp if he had it his way. And the scariest question concerning that is, does Sean Penn really believe in what he's saying? Or is he looking for an excuse to imprison or kill people like a murderous Bolshevik? Since the issue he's talking about has been weaponized and polarized, he knows the overall political and social view of the people he is attempting to incriminate. And Sean Penn is just one Sean Penn in a sea of Sean Penns out there. What they are doing now is the same thing as the Bolsheviks did, out of fear. At the same time, if you deny these people a door to come in and piss all over the information you are putting out to the world, they cry like a bunch of little bitches. These are all signs of fear, not dominance. The arrogance comes from people allowing them to get away with it. So we are to blame, but all their actions are out of fear. Look at YouTube and top chat. Like when you go back and watch a video that was live and check out the chat replay, the top chat is said to take out things that might be spam. But what they're really doing is taking out things they don't want you to see. They're outright lying about what they're attempting to remove with top chat. Top comments. By seeing the most popular comments first, you are seeing the most mediocre ideas that everyone agrees with if it were natural. But in reality, you are seeing the most voted on comments by bots and people who are literally paid to subvert the democratic process of the internet. They never had to do this with television, so it takes a lot more work. They strived for AI. But when they booted it up and AI began thinking in a way that scared them, they unplugged it and had to literally dumb it down before the people could use it. Fear.
A product of fear.
Search results were based on what people actually searched, what was popular, what you were watching. Now, on autoplay, YouTube will send you to one mindless video after another. If you don't stop it, it will play for hours, days, weeks, or years. But if you watch a video like this one, you will instantly be booted to the realm of CNN or Fox News after this video ends. They had to break this. They literally had to break Google, break YouTube, break the internet, break the algorithms that were written for them in an attempt to silence what they consider thought crimes. And that isn't arrogance, that is fear.
Fear.
When I have to go to a Russian search engine to get uncensored results, there is a serious problem in the United States. A Russian search engine. These people are tyrants, they're neurotic, they're authoritarian lunatics. But this is the behavior of a group of people who are afraid. And the hypocrisy is everywhere. Every movement and subculture is held behind the gate until it has been well infiltrated and subverted. After that, it is let go and paraded around the globe to accomplish goals that don't benefit you at all. No one gave a shit about the earth and climate change until they figured out a way to turn the whole thing into a weapon against human beings in general.
How dare you!
And I can prove it. Geoengineering and persistent contrails have been going heavy since the late 1990s, early 2000s. And people began to notice. And the retards just kept staring at the ground. So of course they think that nothing's changed because they never looked up in the first place. And after geoengineering was in full swing, people saw these trails in the sky and figured that all this material had to come back down to the earth anyway, so they began testing the soil. The aluminum and barium levels were off the charts.
You want some figures? Okay, latest water test. Tested the rain. 13,100 micrograms per liter of aluminum in the rain in 2013. Normally, it should be 0. So 13,100 is pretty damn much, folks. It used to be 0, then it was 100s in the 2000s, and then since 2010, it's into the 1000s and the latest 13,100. In the snow on Mount Shasta, pristine Mount Shasta, 61,000 feet, no, excuse me, 8,000 foot level, 61,000 micrograms per liter. 4 times the amount that is found in the soil up there. We're seeing this all over the world, guys. Okay, pH of acid soils is 20 times more alkaline. The aluminum in the soil has doubled in the last 10 years. Aluminum blocks essential nutrients. I am unable in my garden to restore normal pH, and that's because nanoparticles are now in the circulatory systems of both plants and humans. So welcome, fellow guinea pigs. The collapse and decrease of agriculture is something I worry about even more than the previous info about autism and Alzheimer's.
When the soil of an area was tested, the levels were astronomical. But when they tested the soil of a crawl space of a house or a cabin, for example, the levels were normal. This meant 100% that all of this was coming down from above. And our government still denied it. And in retaliation and fear, they began calling people who spoke about it crazy. Yet, Monsanto just happened to patent and begin using aluminum-resistant seeds. What are the odds that Monsanto would just Nostradamus that out of their ass while aluminum levels were skyrocketing with these trails in the air? The aluminum level data is out there. It is provable. The barium level, provable. So why aren't the climate change parrots talking about this? Not one of these Thunbergs out there have ever mentioned this, not once.
If you really understood the situation and still kept on failing to act, then you would be evil.
They just want you to give up your car, your freedom, and pay a carbon tax for being alive. It is a life tax, nothing more and nothing less. And what kind of climate change activist can ignore massive catastrophic levels of aluminum and barium in our atmosphere and soil? I'll give you the answer, the weaponized kind.
My message is that we'll be watching you.
When you're more worried about controlling people than controlling what is in our environment, you are no longer a climate activist. You are an authoritarian viper masquerading as a puppy dog.
How dare you!
When those who call the shots lose any kind of control, it creates great fear.
Fear.
People don't like to admit or pay attention to the level of control on the population these days, but it is immense, from the mental foundation up. For example, the average person has a very limited vocabulary, and you can witness this in countless videos where some teenager or 20 or 30 something will use the word actually over and over and over where it isn't even needed. Hollywood has gotten rich, and the resulting product is a nation of vapid people, yearning for more spoon feedings. They won't learn or even expand their vocabulary unless it is fed to them by the glowing television monitor or their smartphone. And you may think I'm just, talking shit here, but I'll give you an example. Like some cruel joke, the media gives the public a new word or phrase to add to their vocabulary every 5 years or so. One word or phrase, and it's never positive, never a word that brings to mind triumph or joy or anything good, only words that reinforce the psychiatric pseudoscience scam and their drug peddler partners that have miraculously and sadly risen to the level of power that they can now legally force people to take their poisonous drugs by law. And low IQ shit skulls and pseudo-intellectuals salivate while waiting for the media to drop a new buzzword into their psyche. Between the late 2000s and the early 2011 era, they fed these human bots the word sociopath. And it only took some articles in Yahoo, a few Oprah shows, and implanting the word into the script of a few TV shows. And after that, even the most painful dullards would spout the word sociopath in every conversation, shoving the word sociopath into conversations about their cat, about their Facebook page, or even about their, their laundry. Injecting the word into space exactly like it was injected into their psyche. But all words lose power when they've been burned out from overuse. So the media and their overlords inject another catchy word for the parrots to parrot. Let's go back in time before sociopath, the buzzword. Let's go back to 2007. What was the buzzword then? It was enabler. Enablers, enabler, everywhere. Enabler. You're enabling this person. And these people stop using it as quickly as they start using it. And they do it over and over and don't realize that they're doing it. It's amazing. It's truly an amazing thing. And if you're paying attention to these words, There is a certain theme to them, like I said earlier. They all belong in the psychologist psychiatric handbook. That is where these words stem from. The psychiatric bullshit. So there is a common theme to all these words that they get these shit skulls repeating all the time. These vapid shit skulls parroting these words over and over. So after they educated the people, that's what they call advertisement, educating. After they've educated the people on sociopath and enabler and paraded that around and got people talking about it, they added the sociopath's evil brother, the psychopath. So then sociopath and psychopath were out there, and everybody made a YouTube video comparing sociopaths and psychopaths, and everybody was suddenly a psychology major, getting people interested in this garbage. It's garbage, straight up garbage, as Flava Flav once said. This is the definition of terrorism. They live in fear, so their defense is to cause fear and terror in your mind in every way possible. You don't trust the neighbors. You don't trust the guy down the street. You don't trust the mailman. You don't trust anybody. And on top of that, now you're wondering while you're laying in bed or sitting on the couch watching TV whether or not your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your husband, or your wife is a psychopath, a sociopath. What are they hiding? What are their secrets? And then they add that kind of mentality to the television. They are operating out of fear, so they need to terrorize you and put you in fear. And they educate you on all these things. These aren't things that just get popular like people think. They spoon feed it to you. You are being spoon fed this bullshit. And the best part about this is I used to be a big fan of psychology until I realized what was going on, and the fact that you can't show me any proof of a chemical imbalance, an x-ray, or a test for any sort of mental condition. None of it exists. But anyway, after they had used up the psychological terms of enabler, sociopath, psychopath, they needed to move on. And we got the big daddy, narcissist. Narcissist came along, and now every motherfucking asshole on the planet says narcissist at least 10 times a day. It's fucking amazing. They educated you on one dumb buzzword, and you use it all the time. But now they're doubling down. So narcissist, and then they added gaslighting, because that was being used in a different community. Different people were using gaslighting, and then the mainstream picked it up and then turned it into one of their buzzwords. Now pay attention. Look at all those words. Enabler, sociopath, psychopath, narcissist, gaslighting. Those are all psychological terms. Isn't that weird that every single fucking word that they get the people talking about has to do with psychology, psychiatry, and negativity, and the evil, the core evil of mankind?
Then you would be evil.
This is fucking insanity. But my point is, these people do this out of fear. Their arrogance comes from other people allowing them to get away with it and allowing their thought processes to be infiltrated. But it is all based in fear. They're afraid. Why are they pushing all these people to go out and do evil things after they buy pew-pews? Why was MK Ultra even ever introduced? They're afraid. They want control because they're afraid. Remember that. Always remember that. That guy that just went and pew-pewed up Michigan State, they found a note in his pocket that said he felt slighted, which is the most ridiculous thing in the world. His dad said that his mother had a stroke in 2020, and he quit his job and began playing video games all the time. And he bought his guns legally. And like I've talked about many times, this probably started happening to him after he purchased the guns legally. Mother dying, big stress situation, buying the weapons. 100% of these people have been attacked with RF weapons. And what does that do? It puts terror everywhere. It puts the crosshairs on the pew-pews and puts fear everywhere. This is a multifaceted operation, and it works, and they've been doing it over and over. 100% of those guys that are real and that actually did what they did have been attacked with ELF weapons. Every one of them. Since 9/11, they have been playing for all the marbles. This is for all the marbles. You have to understand that, and this is not to scare you. If you realize what is going on and you understand it correctly, it is not something that puts you in a state of fear, paranoia, and panic. It frees you. And being aware of the things that are happening and the fact that they are operating like this because they're afraid puts you in the proper state of mind to deal with this. So they're trying to create a state of fear because they're in fear. And that's awesome. So when you break it down and you look at the language they're injecting, the bullshit political and social narratives that they're injecting, and then talking about radicalization, it's all doublethink and craziness. But if you pay attention to it, it becomes a laughable show. So listen to what I am telling you. You are being played from every angle, 360 degrees. And if you realize that and realize what they're doing, you can't be played. And they still remain in fear.
We will not let you get away with this. Right here, right now, is where we draw the line.
This is a strange game in which the only winning move is not to play. And that's it for now. Look out for Charlie.
I don't like the world now. I mean, before I always knew I was a son of a bitch. But now I'm the only son of a bitch I know. Hey, make way for a real human being. Get out of the way, yeah.
Look out for Charlie.
I want that son of a bitch dead. I want him dead.